This video is brought to you by Newport Propane. If you'd like to learn more about Newport Propane, you can visit them at their website or on their Facebook page, linked in the description below. Hey everybody, Alex Gomes here to do another race recap, this time for IKS race number 3. This time we were at New Hampshire Motor Speedway racing on the road course slash some of the access roads that they make a go-kart track out of. It's a fun, yet twisty and very bumpy track that ends up being very challenging. And I can't really say I had my best performance during this race, but we'll get into it. This is my first time coming to New Hampshire Motor Speedway this year, and I forgot how dusty and slippery the track surface can be, and it really showed in both practice sessions and in qualifying. It's not as much grip as the other two tracks, or at least in my opinion. So it took a few practice sessions to get used to the overall low grip that the track has and the bumps and everything else. Qualifying is where things really started falling apart though. Not the kart itself, just my performance, and there's really nobody I can blame besides myself. For some reason I wasn't on form, and I didn't really feel very fast, and I couldn't really get a clear track to put down a real fast lap. And the one chance that I did, I almost spun coming into the hairpin. I actually looped it and I had to stop and then keep going. So qualifying was not good. In a field of 20 guys, I qualified 10th or 11th. So midway through the pack, I had to really do some work during the pre-final and the final races if I wanted to make this weekend worth it. So we go into the pre-final, and the thing about this track is that it's very notorious for having turn one pileups and wrecks, or all sorts of calamity that can happen because it's a very tight right-hander that's also off camber, so it can throw people off when you're all side by side trying to go into turn one. And sure enough, like I said, I started 10th. And I think the guys up in like 7th, 6th, something like that, got together, and there's carts going off in the grass over this way, coming back into the grass, dragging cones with them, and luckily enough, I was able to avoid all of that and probably made up 3 positions or so right away off the start. So now running at about 7th, I had some work to do, and the guys ahead of me weren't exactly slouches. I mean, there were guys that were pulling half a second, almost second faster lap times than me in qualifying. But I was able to punch my way up through the field. I made it up to 6th kind of easy, made it up to 5th after passing Rick Brown, but it wasn't easy. Myself and Rick, we had a good side-by-side battle, and going into that off-camber corner that I was talking about that we start the race on was where I made my move around him. That corner leads into a gradual left-hander, and I was able to get him on the right-hander going into it, the off-cambered one, and just somehow had enough power and a little less drag on the wheels or something like that. I was able to get around Rick and stay around him even though he had the inside line going into that left-hander. I was able to just clear him going into the bowl. So I only had 4 guys ahead of me now. But Rick wasn't giving up, and he was giving me plenty of pressure. And the 2 of us were catching the 4 guys ahead, but ran out of time. The pre-final is only about 10 laps long. And at a track when you're doing 51 second laps, it goes by pretty quick. So now I had to think about the final. I was feeling pretty good. I made it up from 10th to 5th in a less than 10-minute race, and I was like, all right, we have speed. Looking at the speed charts, I think I pulled like the 3rd fastest lap of that pre-final. So I was like, okay, I think if I can really get my form together, I'll be able to at least get a trophy out of this. I didn't really think I had the win. There was a few guys up there that were pulling some wicked fast times. The one area I was really having a problem with was the final hairpin, the final right-hander hairpin that is just before the 2 left-handers to the start-finish line. This is the only one I think might be mechanical, could be my driving, but it really seemed like this thing was bogging down at the low RPMs, and I don't know if it was the clutch sticking too much. Maybe I need to readjust the springs in there, do something different with the springs so that maybe there is less friction. Maybe I would have higher RPMs until it grabbed. But I was really struggling coming out of that corner, and I probably lost a few tenths a lap just doing that. And anybody who I could get anywhere else on the circuit, they would be right back on my bumper coming out of that hairpin. So that's something I have to diagnose and figure out before the next race at X1 in a week's time. So I was keeping these things in mind. I'm not sure I had enough time to take the clutch apart and look at it. I'm not the quickest wrench on the track. I'm much quicker driving the thing than I am wrenching on it. But I kept that in mind. I tried maybe opening up the rear end a bit to get it a little bit more loose. Maybe that would help me get around that corner a little faster. Redid my front alignment. I was ready to go for the final, but the day was dragging on and the clouds were approaching. Now, up until this point, it was a hot summer day. Sun was out and it was baking. I remember going through waters pretty frequently. But about midway through the race schedule for the finals, I want to say like the 4th group was out of 7, and there was visibly lightning in the distance, which will race in the rain and will race in the dry. It doesn't matter, but we can absolutely not race in thunderstorm conditions. There's no, they don't build a tire that can save you from lightning strikes. So unfortunately, the track itself, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, postponed the day when the storm was within 5 miles. Eventually it did reach us, came right over us, it poured. I lowered my Easy Up right over this thing so it didn't get drenched, and I waited in my truck until it stopped. Halfway through the storm, Mike Kamara actually came around and he told us, yeah, we're done for the day, we're not going to be able to finish today. And at the time I asked, well, how are the final results for the day going to work? And he was saying, it might be the pre-final score as your final result. We might do a makeup day, we'll have to see. But I think by the end of the day it was determined that the pre-finals for all the run groups that didn't get their final in would end up being the final score. So I only ended up in 5th place for the day. No trophy. Happens sometimes. Can't always have a great day. Everybody has their bad days, and I guess this one was mine. Even though I believe I did have the potential to turn it around and actually do something with it. There's definitely some things I need to figure out with this thing regarding the low RPM, low speed corners, and why it's so sluggish. Like I said, it could be this, it could be my right foot, it could be me. I don't know. I gotta figure that out. But that's gonna be it. I unfortunately didn't get any GoPro footage. When I tried, I was too late to the grid, and I ended up not being able to turn the camera on and put it on to record, because by the time I turned the camera on, people were leaving to go to the race, to actually leave onto the track surface. So my apologies for that. It would have been a great one to capture on camera, especially myself dicing with Rick Brown, but didn't get that. As always, I want to thank my sponsor, Newport Propane, for supporting me, but I have a special thanks for them this time, because if it wasn't for them, this would have been my last race of the year. I only did 5 races last year because that's really all I could afford, but because of their sponsorship and their support that they're giving me, I'm going to be able to do twice the amount of races. I'm going to be able to do 10 races this year, so there's another 5 that I'm going to be attending, including the other IKS races, which I'm running for the championship for. So big thanks to those guys. Very much appreciated. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Have a good one.